Joining us now, Congressman, 7th District, Virginia, that's the Central Virginia area, Republican, Dr. Dave Brat. Dr. Brat, good to have you.
Hey, John, great to be on.
Let's start with Helsinki and the meeting with President Putin and President Trump going on right now. I want you to respond to this, maybe as a Republican, because I've asked every Democrat, you're not happy with what the president's doing with Russian meddling. What do you think President Trump should do?
Yeah, well, my answer is going to be different than the Democrats, but all of this goes back to when President Obama was president. And so maybe that's part of the frustration. The Democrats didn't do anything. The meddling goes back to when Obama was in office. Now, the same thing holds. Russia shouldn't be meddling in our affairs. They are. We have evidence of that. And so the president can take that to Putin in conjunction with all the other issues. But I kind of get a kick out of the mainstream press and the Democrats saying Trump is soft on Russia. His talks with Merkel in Germany were anything but that. He's saying to Merkel, your natural gas pipeline going to Russia is a threat to the security of Europe and Germany and us, and it's making us have to pay more of the bill to defend you if you ever get into it with Russia. And so, that's action versus all the rhetoric you hear from the media, et cetera. That was some tough action that is real world and has to do with Germany not paying tons of money to Russia and becoming dependent on their energy. We'd rather have them be serious and get their reserves from either the U.S. or other friends. And so I just have a very different take on it than the mainstream media.
So, Congressman, very simple. So in this sit-down meeting today, the president says he's going to address the meddling situation. And he says to Putin something like, look, this has to stop. We know you did it. What assurances do I have that it's going to stop? Now, Putin will just deny it. But then he's got to give a consequence, all right? So my question is, what's the consequence? Is it sanctions? Is it invasion? I mean, what are the consequences of continued meddling?
Yeah, well, I mean, sanctions are in play. Putin's Russia is not doing well economically right now. And so for him to, maintain and build the empire that he wants, he needs to recharge his economy, and he knows he can't be, a pariah with no friends in the world whatsoever. And so we have plenty of leverage, right? He wants to get back into G8. He wants to do this, that, and the other thing. And, it would be good if we could get some constructive steps. There's going to be some overlap between Russia's interests and our interests. We know we have opposing interests on a lot of fronts. That's not going to go away. But they're going to be in a more dependent position coming up, and not us. We're growing like crazy, right? I've watched the economic reports and looked at the World Bank data yesterday, and it's amazing what our growth is doing for Mexico, Europe, everybody, right? When we grow, everyone does well, and Russia's not blind to that.
So it sounds like you would be in favor of, because there's got to be a threat and a consequence. Like, if you continue to do this, we will. The Democrats won't give an answer, because if they do and the president does that, it destroys their fake news narrative of the day. So they'll never tell you what. But it seems like what the president should do is say, look, if this continues and we get evidence of it, here's the deal. I'm going to double the sanctions down. I'm going to double down on it. And, do you really want to put your economy in that kind of a position? Because we have the power to do that, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I think he will do that. The evidence now is credible. It's come out there with a 12. It's still no collusion, right? Just to make it clear to the people out there, there's no collusion from Americans, but this is 12 Russians that were just meddling in our affairs, and we should end that like we do with anybody else. We have extreme leverage we can put on Russia in many ways, and we ought to use some of that to stop this.
Well, we'll see how it goes. They're meeting Congressman Dave Brat as we speak right now, so obviously We're not going to get anything out of that for about an hour or so, but it is interesting what you say, that sanctions really are the key tool that we have for retribution as to what goes on. And I'm not going to get into what we did and, who's got the rights in Crimea or why our troops are in Syria. I'm just going to focus right now on the only thing the media is going to be talking about, which is, what is he going to do about the Russian meddling? Let's get to the economy. We're likely this week to have the Federal Reserve tipping their hand that the economy, get this, Congressman, did you ever think you would see this? They're going to say that we could approach 5% growth in Q3 or Q4. Did you ever think in your lifetime you would see our GDP grow at 5%?
Yeah, I mean, I always hope that as a free market guy. I know that's the potential of the American people, right? I mean, if you let our people alone and let them produce and give them freedom, that's what they will achieve. And so that's why it's frustrating when the Democrats get into power. I mean, go look up Tim Kaine or Mark Warner. Go look at their regulatory scores with NFIB, with small business. I get 100 from small business. Tim Kaine, I think, is at 20 or something, and Warner is the supposed great entrepreneur, and he's at about 30 out of 100. And so it doesn't surprise me. We're not going to sustain that, but if you can sustain 3.5 to 4, that would just be tremendous. And the spillovers from this are huge, right? The liberals should want economic growth because then you can pay for all the things we all want. We all want to see good education and good transportation, and et cetera, right? But if you don't grow the economy, then you really have a smaller pie to work with. And then the Democrat solution is, usually redistributionism, right? They don't ever have a positive agenda. They just say, we're going to get you more of the pie, the smaller pie that we're producing. And so there's no better news than a growing economy. The Atlanta Fed, I think, had us growing at 4.5 a few weeks ago, and if they're now staying up toward 5, boy, that's just incredible news. And it's good for the rest of the world. I just said the economic spillovers to Mexico are showing up. If Mexico does better, then guess what happens? Then you get less pressure on the border with illegal immigration because they can make wages back at home. Our own folks' wages are going up now. The kids are getting job offers all over the place, and it's just incredibly good news for the American family.
Let's get to internal politics, Congressman. Do you have a choice for, have you committed to any of your colleagues that are running for the all-influential conservative Republican Study Committee?
No, I haven't been in the middle of that yet. That'll be coming up. Mark Walker's in there right now. We'll see I don't even know what names are up for that one right now. Let's
get to the Freedom Caucus, of which you're a member of. Jim Jordan expected to challenge McCarthy, assuming you guys maintain control of the House, which I think you are. Are you inclined to stick with Jim Jordan, or are you non-committal right now?
Oh yeah, no, I'm for Jim Jordan. His motto is my motto. Just let's just keep our promises to the American people. Let's do what we say we're going to do. And I ran on the Republican creed, and Virginia is committed to smaller federal government, Constitution, rule of law, faith in God, ethics, etc. And when we get up to D.C., a lot of Republicans don't vote that way. We keep expanding the government at every turn. And so, Jim Jordan has always pushed that. Let's just go up and do what we promised we were going to do. We didn't, run on huge amnesties. We ran on fixing the border and gaining border security, right? So sometimes the party veers off a bit. And we just need to stick to what's in the Republican platform itself, and I think we'll do ourselves and the American people. They'll see the difference, right, on tax cuts. Look what's happening now because of good Republican policy. The economy's grown like crazy. The Democrats in their platform want to get rid of the tax cuts that just got us all this growth, and they want to increase taxes and slow down the economy again. So, I mean, just right there, the contrast, you can't be more stark as to what's at stake.
The allegations that have surfaced that Jim Jordan, when he was a wrestling coach at his college, that sexual misconduct with his team was brought to his attention. He was never involved in it, but now they're saying, well, it was brought to his attention. He didn't do anything. Do you think there's any merit to that, or does that look to you like a hit piece?
Yeah, no, we're just waiting for all the information to come in, and the first three folks they brought up have, huge conflicts. And if people want to go follow that story, they can do that. So you just let them gather the information. The first three folks that made the accusations have had long grudges against Ohio State and other. I don't. That's why I don't like getting into these rumor monger pieces.
Right.
I just like sticking to the policy. But Jim Jordan's the most ethical guy up there.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other coaches have now come in, including the head coach and the athletic director. Jim was, something like 24 years old. And people are making allegations like he was in charge of the program or something. The head coach, the AD have all said none of us were aware of any of this. Mm-hmm. And so I think the longer you wait, the more information comes in, the more it'll look like Jim's telling the truth the whole way.
Congressman, your opponent, Abigail Spanberger, former CIA person, she was with the agency a while. When I had her on my show, I pressed her on the Trump tax cut, which she said on air that she would repeal, but she didn't know what she would replace it with. Is the Trump tax cut going to be an issue in your campaign with her, whether to keep it or not?
Oh, absolutely. I think it'll be the issue. I mean, and the Democrat responses are always like that. They don't have any agenda that they can name, right? Usually they just do identity politics and call names because they don't have an economic agenda. They cannot explain to you what causes economic growth. And if they can't explain that to you, they have a problem because they can't tell you how they're going to make your family better off. And so all the evidence is in. You just said it looks like we might have economic evidence coming out at 5%, and they want to take away what just caused all of that good news, and they want to increase it, by the way, right? I've gone over that on your show. They had 107 votes in the Progressive Caucus, and the Democrats are all progressives. They're finally admitting it, right? They want to get rid of ICE. They want open borders. They want to raise taxes. They want to socialize everything under the sun and take away your freedom. And when you can't have freedom to act the way you want, that, of course, slows down the economy, lowers wages. It's harder for your kids to find jobs. And so this is not the Democrat Party anymore of John F. Kennedy, right? Kennedy was for supply-side tax cuts, a strong military, the Catholic faith, all of that. The modern Democrat Party was taking God out of their platform a few years ago. They're raising taxes now. You could just go one by one by one. The rule of law, they're it's just endless. And so it's a start choice. Do you want to go the path of Venezuela? You try that experiment, and that's where you'll end up. All of the Scandinavian countries, the reason they have more freedom than a lot of the countries in the world do, and so they do okay. But if you go look at if you're making $60,000 in the Scandinavian countries, you're paying 60% tax. And I don't think Americans want to go that way. The left always cites the Scandinavian countries, right? We're richer than them by quite a bit. They pay 60% in taxes, and I don't think Americans want to do socialism.
Well, at least one candidate, the one that beat Joe Crowley, Alexandria Ocasio, she's looking for a socialistic state, so they have one. Look, I'm going to ask both yourself and Abigail Spanberger this question about each other, and I know you have to take off. The next time I have Abigail Spanberger on my show, what is the one question you would like me to ask her?
Oh, just what you said right there. I mean, what is your political philosophy so we know it, right? They kind of just spin around in circles. What is your agenda based on? Do you have an overarching political philosophy you believe in, right? If it's not free markets, what is it? Because you're running for Congress. That's a serious deal, right? When it comes to the rule of law, what is it? because it's not clear what the Democrats are for. When you say you're against a border wall, what is your plan? Which bill would you vote yes on? The Democrats always kind of run, as moderates, but now they're not even running as moderates. Now they're showing the true colors. They're just coming out full progressive, and I don't think it's acceptable for America, much less the seventh. I mean, we have a very successful set of counties in the 7th District that have been run by Republican government. We have the best run counties there are. And all of a sudden, you got some Democrats coming in at the state level and the local level, and all of a sudden, when people look around, those Democrats are not doing a good job, and they're quitting at the local level because they can't get along with others. They're raising taxes, and they're full-out progressives. And so, trying to figure out what in the world they really believe deep down, I'd love to know that.
Well, that'll be it. I will definitely ask her that. We're out of time. I want to thank Congressman, 7th District, Dr. Dave Brat, for being with us. He's running for a third term, November 8th. That'll be determined. And two people in the race, obviously the incumbent Republican, Dave Brat, who's with us now, and his Democratic challenger who won her primary, Abigail Spanberger. That will be decided on November 8th. Should be pretty close. More information, go to davebrat.com. davebrat.com. If you want to donate, get involved, or just ask him a question, davebrat.com. Congressman, thank you for being with us.